Hello, I'm Kirk LaPointe, publisher and editor-in-chief of Business in Vancouver. We're proud to present this series of 10 discussions with prominent British Columbians in what we call the BIV Business Leadership Series, where they're going to share their views on the impact of the pandemic and how our economy can recover. Our series is sponsored by PwC and by Fasken. Their messages appear at the start and finish of our conversations, and we're brought to you by UBC Sauder Executive Education. All of its programs are running online now until the end of the year, offering an opportunity to engage with faculty and peers in virtual classrooms. Enjoy the conversations.
PwC Canada, our purpose is to build trust in society and solve important problems. What we have today is a very important problem. This pandemic affects us all globally. In BC, as the curve continues to flatten, we're settling into new ways of working and considering what business as usual may look like going forward. We are proud at PwC to sponsor this podcast series from Business in Vancouver to talk about what business leaders should know. Returning to the workplace isn't just about physical places. It's about finding opportunities to thrive in this new era. So let's keep the conversation going.
Thanks for joining me. I'm Hayley Woodin, and you're watching BIV's Business Leadership Series. In this series, we gather insight from some of the biggest names in BC business on what's been happening in our economy. And my guest today, a familiar face to many British Columbians, Chip Wilson, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and of course, the founder of Lululemon Athletica. Chip, thanks so much for joining me on the show. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Hayley.
So I'm curious, what were your initial impressions, reactions, responses when you first sort of learned of this threat to business from COVID-19?
Well, interesting. I was had a board meeting in Shanghai, probably in February sometime, and as we got closer to the meeting, it got shifted from Shanghai to Hong Kong, and then it got closer again, and then we shifted it to Tokyo. So we were outside, but the fact of the matter is most of China was shut down. Probably 80% of our retail stores were. At the time, I kind of like, well, is this just a China only thing? Are they containing it there? We knew that it was a big hit on the retail sector, but no one knew. There was not enough information. And so my concern was quite limited, and of course I look back at it now and I go, oh my God, I was right there. I had all the information in the world, but there was just no thought that it was going to go global.
Of course, nobody knew. If we did know, we'd be in a very different position, I'm sure. What would you say has surprised you the most about everything we've since gone through?
Well, I think that it's well, just how well we've worked at Zoom, like we're doing right now. And I know our office started working to Zoom about 6 months ago, and I just found it quite effective. And so we were really ready to go. And so I think, you're probably even finding this now too, but will we end up with just 20% of core people working in our offices now? Will we end up with just meeting on Fridays, coming in, breaking up into little groups, keeping our culture together, having lunch together, and then going away for another week? How will we react when we have new employees come in who need to get to know everyone? Can you actually get to know someone really by Zoom, or do you need some interpersonal relationship with people in order to engage people and have them come into the fabric of the culture in the company? I think the other thing that I think is going to happen is VR e-commerce. So I can see where it's just the websites that we see now for e-commerce are going to look archaic, and I think to be able to click onto a website and have maybe even a specific person that's got some kind of camera on their head, and they're walking around in a store which is set up in a warehouse that's really inexpensive to do way out in the suburbs, or a VR with a salesperson that's a bot of some sort, will be the way of the future. And it's going to be interesting to see if online retailing will be what people like in stores, kind of the hunt and peck type of thing. Someone that can lead you around in the store. Oh, I like that pant. There's a bunch of things on mannequins. There's a display over here. There's somebody that can show you the garment, show you what, the technical parts of a garment or what you can't see about it, can tell you about the fit of it. I think it can be just done as well online as it can otherwise.
Interesting. That sounds like a fascinating future. Sometimes we have the technology to implement initiatives like that, but what holds us back can sometimes be consumer reticence to adopting a new technology. But do you think that one outcome of this pandemic is that consumers understand that, yeah, this might be a reality? We might not be able to physically go to stores. Has it accelerated some of the trends you're seeing?
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, everything's getting accelerated. What would happen in 10 years is happening right now for sure. Um, um, how was I going to say that? I think people are going to work from home, obviously a lot. I mean, as we were just saying, I think the interesting thing is that not the whole world, but 60% of us end up in the gig economy. Because if we're working from home and we don't feel we need the office anymore, and we need like a financial spreadsheet done, we don't necessarily need somebody in our company to do it. And it's already happening where maybe you'll send a question to somebody in India overnight, and then when you get up in the morning, the answer will all be there, and you didn't even have to wait another extra day. And so, will our 60% of our employees be like Uber or Lyft or, you know, um, you know, the shared economy, so to speak, and what will that mean to the workforce? Will become global. Um, Prices for salaries will probably come down, but that'll be okay because everything's going to cost a lot less too.
Mhm. I know here in BC, our economy and our health situation has certainly been better than some jurisdictions. How do you think BC is going to be able to adapt to what's to come?
Well, I think the big issue may be more in the type of government we have and where we are right now. We've got a split government. It's very tenuous, moving into another election. And probably the DNA of the NDP is more to take care of, um, will be more to take care of the present, the few people in the present, especially the disadvantaged, rather than thinking what's best for the long run, especially if they have to win an election. So I think, usually we'd have like a lot of, um, in this situation as had happened in 2008, we'd have companies would come up with a lot of their processes would get streamlined, um, um, the way they look at their IT, the way they look at their people, everything would change and everything would be quicker and quicker and faster. But and I know companies that work that way, but I don't think our government is set up to work that way right now. And it's a sad thing. If we had probably a majority government one way or another who felt like they could easily get into the next election, I think we would be operating a lot differently.
That's right. And as you point out, we have minority governments at both levels. Is it clear from your perspective what our economy needs at this point in time? If we had the right government set up, what government should be doing to support business?
Well, as I said, I think it needs to be set up to support a gig economy. And you can see how the NDP has treated Lyft and Uber, and that is just doesn't work for the speed of which the world is changing. And if there's ever a time when you needed a government that was working on speed and was willing to kind of like go, okay, where's our money best spent? Probably both on a civic area like Vancouver or in a provincial, we're just not set up for that. Um, let's see, I was going to say something. I think that whole sectors are going to be disrupted in this. And I think there's going to be massive bankruptcies. I think what the government doesn't realize right now is that it actually costs more for retail to open up partway than it does to keep closed down. And so one, they've been shut down for a couple of months, and now everyone's trying to slowly open up, but I think they're going to quickly realize that costs too much. So if we continue on the social distancing for another couple of months, we're going to have, I suspect we're going to have 20% empty retail stores by November this year. And I think that's, I don't think we're going to have a second wave, because I think, you can see the vaccine coming through. I think a good government would probably focus their money more on taking care of packed nursing homes, probably people that are overweight, people with diabetes, some people that are smoking. And then you got to ask yourself, like, yes, I think the government should take care of the elderly, but should they take care of people that haven't taken care of their health? Nature doesn't have any political correctness. And, I don't think we can legislate it.
Mm-hmm. The prediction, 20% of retail locations empty by November. That's huge. What pops to mind is first what goes into those empty spaces, but maybe I'll frame the question to you in this way. What's the future like for bricks and mortar retail? Does that remain a viable option for businesses?
Well, a lot of landlords will probably get smart and try to renegotiate and probably move to percentage rent as probably the rental, as probably the retailers want to do that too. There's got to, for the first time, the power is going to shift to the retailers. So there's going to be a resetting, but usually those things take a lot longer. And retail and landlords, there's going to be those landlords that just don't want to, they can't really afford to have a drop in rent. And because if they have a drop in rent, then they go bankrupt. So they're going to hold on to it. So that's why you end up with the 20%. I think what's going to happen is, because everything's moving to e-commerce. Of course, we're going to move from about maybe 14 or 15%, or in the case of someone like Lululemon or Arc'teryx, or the athletic companies, they're upwards somewhere to 25 to 30%. I think everything's going to move to 50%. But then the rents are going to become so inexpensive that I think it's going to make sense in 2 years from now, where retailers are going to go, look at this is a great resource at the right price, and they're going to move back in. But probably half their store will be set up only to sell e-commerce goods, and the other half will be set up to sell goods that are available right then and there.
Interesting. More broadly, where do you think we might see some good opportunities for business in the months or years ahead?
What do I think opportunities? Well, I think I was probably just saying it. I think we're going to have, like I was saying, in November, we're going to have all these vacancies, but I think there's going to be a group of people that'll go bankrupt in September. And then there'll be another group that'll try to hold on through Christmas. And either they'll go through Christmas and then try, because 30% of retail sales happen at Christmas. And then January 1st, you're going to see, the people survive or not. I think the opportunities are really going to be, and we'll just take apparel, for instance. You can see the top layer of retailers going bankrupt, and they're not necessarily brands except for J. Crew, but they're the big department stores are all going bankrupt. And then I think, so they're weak. They had a weak balance sheet. And then you have maybe great brands that are down at the bottom that are just new or struggling, or kind of, they're young, but they don't have enough muscle to kind of get through the next stage. So I think what we're going to see is an era of mergers and acquisitions, if not bankruptcies, where maybe 10 apparel brands will get together and form one company, and then have one back end of HR, finance, logistics. And I only say that about apparel because I think that will happen in many different sectors. It's just the natural selection.
As a business leader, are there any really significant lessons you're taking away from everything we've just gone through, this really unprecedented time?
Well, everyone would always have said to keep 20% of your money in cash all the time. I mean, it's the history has shown that every 8 years there's a crash of some sort. This time it went for 14 years. But I think that what's occurring now is we're in the middle of the third revolution. There was the agricultural and then the industrial revolution. We're in a digital revolution. So much money is getting made, in the marketplace that what actually occurred in the stock market is what I predicted, and it happened in 2007 too. There's information is so quick and so fast, and it's so available that the stock market drops, but then it bounces right back up really quickly. So we end up with a V, which is exactly what has happened. I can see where it would be smart, probably for me, or that now that I'm thinking about it, to probably put 2% of my money in cash every year and increase that, because probably the odds are in 8 years something else will happen that we can't foresee. But I really get from talking to some good friends that the idea is not to have it in cash, but have it in EFTs and gold in Switzerland, outside of the economic realm of the United States or Canada, where it's safer. So I think that's what I'll be doing.
I appreciate that insight, and I'm sure our listeners will as well. Chip, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate you taking the time.
My pleasure. Thanks, Hayley. Bye-bye.
That's Chip Wilson, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and of course, the founder of Lululemon. I'm Hayley Woodin, and you've been watching BIV's Business Leadership Series. There are 10 parts to this series where we interview prominent British Columbian business leaders and get their insights on what's been happening to BC's economy and in their broader respective sectors. Tune in to BIV.com, where you can find all of those videos in our series as we roll them out over the next couple of weeks.
Thank you, everyone, for attending today's very interesting session. I'm Will Westring, Managing Partner of Fasken's BC region, which includes our downtown Vancouver and Surrey locations. Fasken is a Canadian-based international law firm with offices across Canada, in London, England, Johannesburg, South Africa, and Beijing, China. We are BC's largest law firm and have been serving this province's business community for over 130 years. At Fasken, we provide a full range of legal services, including assisting clients in relaunching their operations and implementing COVID-19 business recovery efforts. Please call us or visit our website for information on all the services we provide, including our COVID-19 Knowledge Center. We really are in this together. Thank you.